I'm going to double check our. I suppose I should double check our feed. I'm going to actually turn. Yeah, just bear with me, Gavin. I'm just going to double check our Periscope, make sure that we are live. Okay. Guess I should have done this ahead of time here.
I'm just happy we got this far.
Yeah. Well, I've been really trying to focus on getting the sound issues and those types of things straightened out. So I'm just double checking the B2B page. All right, so it says that we're live on the B2B channel. So I think we'll just go ahead and we'll get started here. Welcome, everybody. My name is Gary Stockton, and I'm with Experian Business Information Services. And we're going to do a business chat live today and focusing on marketplace lending. I'm happy to be joined by Gavin Harding, and he's a senior business consultant with our Business Information Services team on the global consulting side of the business. And Gavin is out at the Experian Vision Conference. Good morning, Gavin, or good afternoon, I should say.
Well, it's a little both. It's morning for you and afternoon for me. Hi, Gary.
So you had hosted a panel discussion yesterday called Bridging the Gap, Reconnecting Marketplace Investors with Marketplace Lenders in a Volatile World. Who was on the panel with you?
Well, we had a really good industry cross-section. We had Nat Hoops, who is the executive director of the Marketplace Lending Association. We had Frank Rotman, who is the founding partner of QED Investors. And we had Peter Renton, who is the co-founder of Lendit, probably the biggest online marketplace lending conference worldwide.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Peter Renton, he has the work with the Lendit conference, but also Lend Academy, right? That's a resource for marketplace lending. I listened to his podcast, and
That's right.
we've spoken to Peter a number of times, so he's quite the expert on that field. There's been, in terms of marketplace lending and the news. I mean, there have been some news, some negative news around the industry in recent past. Was that something that came up?
Indeed, it did. Over the last 12 to 18 months, there's been a spate of negative publicity. The industry in general has the media in a way turned on the industry on the basis of a couple of events related to specific companies in the space. The good news is that while that negative publicity had a negative impact last year, it seems that the industry has rebounded. It seems that it was a watershed moment where the industry recommitted to transparency, where they enhanced their whole approach to risk, improved their approach to operations. So if we characterize last year as perhaps a low point, the general theme of the panel was that the industry is really poised for growth, has grown up a lot over the last year. And, we talked a lot about credibility and trust and so on. And Nat from the Marketplace Lending Association, obviously that group started about a year ago, and it has now grown to 19 members. So pretty rapid growth. When we think about the 19 members, we estimated that covers about 90 to 95% of the total volume of loans and credit facilities in the space. So, Nat and his team worked hard on transparency, disclosure, harmonizing standards, and so forth. So it's really good to have him on the panel.
Mm-hmm. And Experian, are we a member of the MLA?
We are a proud associate member. Yes, we are.
Excellent. So let's talk a little bit about partnerships, bank partnerships, and what are the kinds of things that you were talking about related to bank partnerships? I'm sure that was a big part of the discussion.
It was, it's about 24, 36 months ago is when this topic became pretty hot. Lots of conversation between banks and players in the industry. Those conversations, in some very high profile ways resulted in partnerships. We think about Chase, we think about On Deck. And as the year has progressed, what started to happen is the mood within the industry has changed. Banks now expect partners in this space to speak their language in terms of risk, to be fully compliant, to understand all the rules and regulations. So the short statement is that in the last year, within the online lending space, compliance has become a competitive advantage. Compliance and operational discipline has become a selling point. So again, that's part of the ongoing theme of the industry and the sector growing up and maturing. So really positive. The one comment that I believe Frank had was as we think about partnerships with the banks, be prepared to hear no a lot before you get to yes. Be prepared to translate between the two very distinct audiences. So in terms of working with banks, use their language, understand the regulations, understand what pressures and demands are on them. And the outcome of that will be, a much higher success rate, much more positive, productive conversations.
Excellent. How about the sector performance overall? I mean, is it growing sector? I mean, the banks, I would imagine that they've expressed a lot of interest in that. Are we seeing growth in that sector?
So interesting question. So we talked about some of the negative publicity last year. Some of that related to some practices in parts of the industry over the last 2 to 3 years. So what's happening now is, because of a refocus and redirection towards credit risk management, putting on more and better loans for appropriate returns and so forth, we're seeing the whole industry performance has really been elevated. A lot of the perhaps substandard loans or facilities have now run off meaning they've matured and been paid off. And the new business that's been put on is more sustainable it's a more disciplined approach. So yes, overall the sector has improved significantly in terms of performance over the last year.
Excellent. And so you obviously you're meeting with plenty of Experian clients there at the conference. What is this, your third or fourth vision?
This is my third, and we are here with, I think it's a little over 500 of Experian's clients globally, many of our clients from Europe, Asia, and so on. And so it's a really good experience.
Yeah, and I saw that you had what?
That's right. On Monday morning for our breakfast presentation, we had the WAS.
Wow.
And the big news on that, Gary, is, I know this will probably startle any listeners, that apparently Steve Jobs was not always a very nice person.
Yeah.
So that's a news flash there.
Yeah. Brilliant guy, though. I mean, you can tell I'm a customer.
Fantastic. The innovation, the dynamism was just radiating from him. And, he talked about some of his kind of rules of life. Mm-hmm. And he said he was never interested in money. He was interested in thinking and creating things and making things work. And somebody said, Steve, they said, what motivated you when you were an employee at Hewlett Packard? And how does that maybe translate into what we should be doing with employees? And Steve Wozniak said the major attraction for him in Hewlett Packard was that they let him go into their stores, their inventory, and take whatever electronic parts and components he wanted to create his own products at night. So he would talk about going home, having dinner, and going back, going into the stores, grabbing the components, and then making the products. And some of the original pre-Apple I computers were made from Hewlett-Packard parts in Steve Wozniak's. He said he didn't actually have a garage; it was more of a basement,
Wow.
but in his house. So really an interesting presentation, and a really dynamic guy. We were lucky to have him.
And you also had, I think was there an economic presentation, Diane Swank? I think I saw her.
Diane this morning, really interesting presentation. A little bit of a different perspective than just what we often see in terms of the high level economic factors like just raw unemployment versus full employment and so on. Mm-hmm. She took a little bit deeper, but beyond that, she had a couple of key messages. One of the messages is that we are almost at, depending on definition, full employment. Mm-hmm. Wages have increased over the historical averages over the last couple of years. So while the broad improvement in the economy was visible, it's only now hitting our pocketbooks. It's only now coming through in consumer spending. So that was pretty positive. Mm-hmm. She has worked a lot with both the current and past administration in terms of economic advisors and committees and so on, done a lot of work in Washington, D.C. Yeah. She is very much taking a wait and see cautious approach in terms of what the administration is saying. She confirmed that the intent or the goal of investing heavily in infrastructure should have a dramatic effect on the economy overall. So she was supportive of that. The one question she had, and actually what she said, was that her son on the way to school in the morning on the back of a napkin should be able to work out that what the plan is to spend and at the same time reduce taxes, without the other side of the equation is to be charitable going to require further definition.
Wow. Sounds like quite a conference. I'm quite envious that I'm not there to enjoy it with you this time, but maybe next time. Gavin, I really appreciate you taking time out. I know that there's a lot of people that you should be meeting with there, so I'm going to go ahead and maybe end it right there for now. Maybe we can schedule another business chat soon. I know we've got some things coming up with Moody's Analytics and yourself in June, and the next release of the Main Street Report for Q1. So I'm excited to maybe talk about that in further detail with you very soon.
I look forward to it. Thank you very much, Gary.
All right. Thank you very much. Okay, just hang with me there. I'll fade down the sound.